This hearing of the Watertown Licensing Board is in session. It is Thursday, September 17, 2020, 7:15 p.m. I am Donna Doucette. I will be presiding over the hearing this evening. Assisting me are board members Sandra Kasabian-Hoffman, Sandra Dineski, wait a minute, and John Labadini. I'm sorry, I was distracted by my screen. Assisting us are attorney David Dineski, who I think, yes, is now correctly named and titled on his little square, and licensing board clerk Julie O'Neill. Per the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law to avoid group congregations, this meeting is being held via remote online technology. As posted by the town on the agenda publicized for this meeting, there are 4 ways to participate by the town, by simply observing via cable TV, by joining this meeting online, or by telephone, and prior to this hearing, by sending a written comment to be read at the appropriate time during the hearing. Please note that as with in-person meetings, public comments and applicant presentations are limited to special times during the hearing. At those times, in order to comment, simply click the raise your hand icon if you have it on your screen. If you do not, then wave your hand and you will be unmuted and allowed to be addressed when I call on you. Allowed to address the board when I call on you. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the August minutes. Ms. Kasabian-Hoffman and Mr. Labadini, do you have any changes or additions to be made to the minutes of the August hearing which you received prior to this hearing?
I do not.
I do not either.
Okay, the minutes are approved as written, and at some point they will be signed or they will have an electronic signature from me placed on them. The next item on the agenda is Shake Shack LLC, doing business as Shake Shack, 106 Arsenal Yards Boulevard. This is a request for a change of manager. Do we have a representative from Shake Shack there? We have Mr. Joseph Devlin. I can see by his hand being raised. Mr. Devlin, if you will, please tell us your position and talk to us about the change of manager.
Yes, my name is Joe Devlin. I'm an attorney for Shake Shack in Massachusetts LLC, and I represent, I'm here for a change of manager. Actually, Vienna Koch is also, she's the 203-559-5227 number. That's
okay.
In the bottom right-hand corner of my screen.
Okay.
Vienna is the resident of Beverly. She's the assistant general manager at the location. She's one of the several salaried employees or managers that they have at the location. They do have a GM above her, but in the Shake Shack system, the GM has 2 locations. You know, each GM has 2 locations, so they prefer to put an assistant general manager who is there all the time. As you can see from her application, at least 50 hours a week. She's worked at Shake Shack for the last 7 years in positions of progressive responsibility, leading up to assistant GM. At some point, she will become a GM and have 2 locations of her own. But for now, this is she's assistant GM, and she's going to be the manager of record here. And we're here to answer any questions. She's been working in the Shake Shack at Arsenal Yards, so she's familiar with the town and the operations there as well.
Okay, let's unmute Vienna's phone at this point in case Mr. Labadini has questions that she would need to answer. Mr. Labadini, do you have any questions regarding this application?
I do not at this time.
Okay. Ms. Kasabian-Hoffman?
I don't know.
Okay. Mr. Devlin did cover her experience and That basically covered many of the questions we would have asked. So there being no further questions, and this being um, an application that does not lead to public comment, I will read the board comments, which are basically no comment from the building department, the fire department, the zoning department. The health department indicates no issue. The police department recommendation is as follows. The department has investigated the applicant's request and would have no objection to the change of manager as presented, provided the following be stipulated on the license. Item 1, the new manager, Vienna Koch or Koch?
I think it's Coke.
Koch shall ensure that all bartenders and servers of alcohol attend and successfully complete an alcohol awareness training program immediately upon hire or expiration of certification. Copies of all alcohol certifications shall be maintained by the licensee and be available upon request. Item 2, all other stipulations of the previously issued license shall remain the same. Ms. Kasabian Hoffman, I will take a recommendation on this.
Okay, I'll make a recommendation to approve the change of manager at Shake Shack, Massachusetts LLC, doing business as Shake Shack, 106 Arsenal Yards Boulevard, subject to the recommendations of the police department.
Thank you. Mr. Labadini?
I would concur, and I would vote to approve as well, along the lines of what Sandra just shared.
Thank you. I also agree. Thank you, Mr. Devlin and Ms. Koch.
Thank you. It's nice to see you all again. Good luck. Bye, Julie.
Aye.
Next item is D&G Towing Auto Repair Services, Inc., doing business as D&G Auto Body, 386 Arsenal Street. This is a request for a Class 2 auto dealer license. Ms. Casello, I'm sorry, I apologize for giving you the wrong name at the beginning of the hearing. I haven't changed my forms yet. Ms. Casello, would you please read the ad for this application?
Notice is hereby giving under Chapter 140 on the general laws as amended that D&G Towing Auto Repair Services, Inc., doing business as D&G Auto Body, is applying for a Class 2 auto dealer license to be located at 386 Arsenal Street, Watertown, Mass. Description of the premises is as follows. Approximately 3,600 square feet, one building, one office, 2 bathrooms, 14 on-site parking spaces, 3 spaces designated for auto dealer. Hours Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., closed on Sundays. Hearing on this application will be held on Thursday, September 17th, 2020 at 7:15 p.m. via Zoom.
Okay. Thank you. The applicant and or her attorney, please identify themselves and present a
Gab.
description of your request.
Yes, hi, how you doing? So my name is Gabriela Estrada. I am just applying for a Class 2 auto dealer license. It's what was once there under Coach and Carriage, I believe, or Arsenal Auto Body. I'm not sure which one it was under. And we just want to seek the same license. We obviously do body work, and sometimes we may run into people who put in the work order but do not want to pay for the services afterwards, and then we would have to do the lien processing to then obviously sell the vehicle. That's why we're applying for this license.
Okay, you indicated that there would be 3 spaces for the auto dealer. You often have 3 vehicles at one time that have been impounded and are facing this process?
Yes, currently we have, well, that are impounded as in being worked on. We currently have 7 cars in line. And it could be a possibility whether if we start having more business coming in the door, and hopefully we do, that there could be more. We don't hope to have more than 14 at a time, but that's what we're seeking, yes.
But that's the auto repair part.
Yeah.
I'm asking specifically about the 3 spaces designated for the auto dealer.
Yes, there's going to be 3 spots for the dealer if we do sell any vehicles there, yes.
Would those be used by the repair vehicles if there are none, or if the 3 spaces don't happen to be filled?
There could be a possibility, but I don't really see it happening.
Okay. That could get confusing for the police if they are supervising,
Yeah.
periodically checking on the business.
We did have that question in mind, but we do, I'm not sure if everybody knows, but since my last application, I do own a tow company, which is in Olson. We have a permanent lot to store and park vehicles over 70 cars. We're licensed to store that many vehicles. So I don't see it being an issue at all. If I do have an overflow, cars are going to go there until it's ready to be worked on. So we don't think we're going to have any issues with that.
So those 3 would be kept clear unless you have vehicles to sell.
That's correct.
Okay. Ms. Kasabian Hoffman, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I just want to clarify what you just said. So you're allowed to have a total of 14 spaces in Watertown, 3 of which can be for cars that will be for sale. But if you don't have any cars for sale, all 14 of those spaces could be for repair work, right? Cars waiting to be repaired.
From what my knowledge is, yes. Yes, the police officer did inform me that I could use it as long as I'm not overflowing anything. So I did tell him that it wouldn't be an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Labadini, do you have questions for the applicant?
No, I just want to clarify. So your core business is repair, and there might be opportunities where a car, for whatever reasons, ends up being put for sale.
That's
Is
correct.
that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the public regarding this application? Seeing nobody waving their hands, I will proceed. The building department, the fire department, the health department, and the zoning department have no comments. The police department recommendation is as follows. This department has investigated the applicant's request and has no objection, provided the following is stipulated on the license. The hours of operation shall be Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. until 5 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. until 3 p.m., closed on Sunday. The total number of used motor vehicles for sale shall be 3 as requested. The total number of vehicles on the property shall not exceed 14 according to the submitted plot plan. Up to 3 of those spaces may be used in conjunction with the Class 2 auto dealer license. A logbook shall be maintained to document the purchase and sale of used vehicles in compliance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 140, Section 62, and be reviewable upon request. All exterior parking spaces shall be lined for identification and inspection, and there shall be no alcoholic beverages on the property. I'll take a recommendation from Mr. Labadini.
I recommend voting in the affirmative to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Kasabian Hoffman.
I will do the same and add subject to the recommendations of the police department.
Thank you. And those recommendations and stipulations are as I just read from the recommendation, and I also agree. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda will be the Pequasit Erie number 1928 Fraternal Order of Eagles. the naming of new officers and directors. Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
What did you just say?
Ms. Casello, thank you. We have the letter, but what I would like for you to read is the continuance letter first.
Okay. Dear Ms. Doucette, as you may know, this office represents.
No. The continuance letter that we sent them. Do you have that?
No, I do not.
Okay, I will have to get it out of my files. One moment, please.
I can open it, I think.
That's okay. I will. Let's see, decisions.
How did I forget?
Here we go. Pequasit Erie number 1928 of the Fraternal Order of Eagles, 44 to 46 Mount Auburn Street, Watertown, Mass. Notice of continuance. Notice is hereby given that the Watertown Licensing Board has continued its hearing on the application of Pequasit Erie number 1928 of the Fraternal Order of Eagles, holder of an all-alcohol club beverage license, exercised at 44 to 46 Mount Auburn Street, for an approval of a change of its officers and directors. The application was originally scheduled for hearing on February 20, 2020, and was continued at the request of the licensee to March 19, 2020. On account of the novel coronavirus COVID-19, the licensing board did not meet again until May 21, 2020. At that time, the board acknowledged a request from the applicant's attorney by letter dated May 15, 2020, for a further continuance to the board's July meeting. At the July 16 meeting, the board acknowledged a request from the applicant's attorney by letter dated July 16, 2020, for a further continuance to the board's August meeting. And at the August 20 meeting, the board acknowledged yet another request from the applicant's attorney by letter dated August 19, 2020, for a continuance to the board's September meeting. The continued hearing on this application will be held on September 17, 2020. The meeting will be held remotely via Zoom. The URL is given. It may be accessed for audio only by phone. Those phone numbers are given using the meeting ID, and that number is given. The meeting will also be televised on Watertown Cable Access TV, and again, that URL is given. We are in receipt of a letter transmitted via email from Kenneth J. Leitner Jr., who is the attorney for Pequasit Erie number 1928 of the Fraternal Order of Eagles. As you may know, this office represents Pequasit Erie 1928 of the Fraternal Order of Eagles. The applicant has a matter scheduled before the licensing board for a change of officers. Request is made to continue the hearing for the change of officers on the above referenced matter to the October 2020 agenda. The reason for this is as follows. The bylaws of the applicant call for new officers and directors to be voted on the third Monday in May of each successive year. This would have taken place on Monday, May 18, 2020. With the restaurant being closed until June 22, 2020, the applicant could not convene a meeting at the premises and was unable to have a quorum by an electronic meeting. The slate of new officers and directors must be noticed to the members at least 30 days in advance of the meeting. This was done in July 2020. On August 24, 2020, this meeting was held to elect the new officers and directors. This was after the regularly scheduled licensing board meeting on August 20, 2020. Timothy Eaton is the secretary for the applicant and has filed the appropriate documentation with the Secretary of the Commonwealth. He is also processing the change to the updated application and the required query forms. These documents should be completed within the next week. Therefore, the applicant requests that this matter be continued until the October 2020 agenda, before which time all the appropriate documents will be filed with the clerk's office and the ABCC. Thank you for consideration of this request. Mr. Labadini, Ms. Kasabian Hoffman, do you have any comments regarding this request?
I don't.
I do not.
My comment is that it's fortunate for them that there are such restrictions on operations, because at this point there would be no one that the town would go to complain if a violation occurred, because none of the new officers have been approved. So I certainly hope they will be in on our October meeting. And if we can perhaps include some wording to the effect that additional steps may be taken by the licensing board if this matter is not heard on the during the October meeting, that perhaps might focus their effort a little more energetically. What date is the October hearing, Ms. Casello?
The 15th.
October 15?
Yes.
So subject to the comments I made, I will recommend that we continue the matter to the October 15 hearing. Ms. Kasabian Hoffman?
I agree. We're going to notify them, right?
Oh, yes.
So in that notification, is there going to be any indication that if they don't show up that day,
The licensing board will consider further steps.
okay.
That is what I requested of Mr. Dineski, and that's part of the recommendation that I'm making. So if you wish to make it
Yes.
sterner or less stern, this is your opportunity to
No,
say so.
That's good.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Mr. Labadini?
Yeah, so again, just for clarity, we're going to grant another continuance, and your position is that we want to inspire them to not have to ask for any more?
Right. So I
Okay.
would like for the language that the licensing board will consider additional steps to be taken if this matter is not finalized during the October hearing.
Okay, I don't want to, yeah, this probably isn't the time or place, but yeah, I'm in favor of the continuance, and based on everything that's going on and everything, I'm certainly not feeling like we should be punitive because of COVID or
Right,
whatever's
right.
going on. Hopefully they can get their ducks in a row by the next one.
Right. This is a matter of filling out the proper forms and sending them electronically to the ABCC, which is, once those officers were elected, delays of that nature, unless initiated by the state, but certainly everyone else has managed to file electronic forms. So we want the club to have a little oomph
Inspiration.
behind. Inspiration, yes, good word, thank you. So by a vote of 3-0, we will continue the hearing and send a carefully worded Mr. Dineski letter that leaves other options open to us. The final item on the agenda is comments by the board clerk and the police department. Ms. Casello, do you have anything you wish to tell the board?
You're not.
Okay, and the police department being absent, I believe they have nothing they're concerned about. I would like to bring up the letter that we received via email just prior to the hearing this evening concerning the request for a Keno license from 7-Eleven. Mr. Dineski, the notification to us indicates that the city or town has an option to object to the granting of the license to the Keno applicant. This is unlike other licenses where the state grants the license and the city or town may object to it beforehand, but does not actually vote on whether that license will be awarded. Mr. Dineski, this was sent to us at the licensing board. It references official action that may be taken by the city or town. Is this an action that the town itself would be considering, or is this something that we should consider?
You would be the local licensing authority, but the issue here per the letter is that notice of an objection must be subsequent to an opportunity for the applicant to be heard. And so that's not something that can be taken up tonight, in my view. Is
it necessary for us to hold a hearing? The reason, what I'm trying to clarify here is whether a formal objection, if the licensing board is required to hold a hearing in order to determine if a formal objection should be made, or if that is in the town of Watertown something that the town council would decide.
I am not sure of prior history, but for the licensing board or any authority in the town to submit a formal objection, a hearing would be required. So what I can do is try to check with the manager's office to see if there's any past practice, as well as for this board. I don't, in recent memory, recall.
There has never been, we have never held a hearing for a Keno application. And the reason we never held the hearing is that we were told that this is entirely under the purview of the state.
And it may be that the state either gave the same kind of notice regarding its final authority to issue the license, or has taken a different interpretation at some point over the years. Okay. Regardless, I think what the appropriate step would be for me to confer with the manager's office, attempt to review the history in short order, and if it appears that there is, or that if the board wants to hold a hearing, we would need to schedule a special hearing for that purpose. But I would propose to provide the board members with just at least a brief background memorandum regarding the issues, and in that way it could be determined if a hearing is desired.
Okay, thank you very much. There being no further matters to consider this evening, this hearing is adjourned.
Good night,
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.